I thank you. I love you. Ho'oponopono, 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 ho'oponopono. And within this space of vulnerability, feeling this now, you can just thank your inner child for this beautiful release and how it will serve both of you. And when you come back into the grounding of the body, I would like for you to do so with the concept that you are free. How does that feel? Just breathe that out. I am free. Let that go. Let's say again. I am free. Go one more. I am free. Now that's vulnerability. Give yourself a hand, you did a good job. I would like for you to practice that for 30 days, every day. Every single time you feel that twinge of shame, every single time you get triggered, you get catalyzed, you wish to express and you hold yourself back, you feel judged, shamed, and condemned by maybe someone you love, maybe a colleague, a coworker. These are examples of how the universal law of reciprocity is within you, giving you permission to reciprocate from vulnerability, because in that vulnerability, your safety lies. You understand that? So from that, the next step is trust. This example, this Ho'oponopono process that we have expressed today invites trust, because you are aware at this point that you are one. You go through this and you understand that what you could possibly extract from the concept of oneness is giving yourself permission that all creative emotions are God's expressions. What does that mean? You're safe. You can't do wrong. You are innocent. You are that beautiful, loving, divine child of God within that you have always been, will always eternally be, and it cannot be different. You cannot be condemned. You are innocent. So that invites trust. The next step is acceptance. What does acceptance mean to you as it applies to how to be reciprocal and in one with people? What does it mean to you? Anyone? Acceptance? I won't bite. I know this is kind of powerful, heavy material. Go ahead.
For me, it means accepting myself and that there's divinity in me, but there's also just human weakness, and I can accept that.
Mm-hmm. And what does human weakness mean to you? How does that look in your life?
Not being willing to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we were talking earlier about being creative, I feel more divine when I'm creative, and I feel blocked when I'm not.
Mm-hmm. My suggestion to you on that is to observe when you feel blocked. Are you shaming yourself when you're unable to be vulnerable, when you're saying you feel blocked? Could acceptance bring you to that level of release of that when you say, oh, I'm blocked again? How many times have we kind of gotten in a flow and then life happens, bills, children, school, not that any of those are bad things, but they're dimensional concepts, paradigms. Some of the beings that I channel in the angelic seraphim collectives talk about this as the great undoing. So as you are coming into your expression within the 3D, you will find these things that happen and you're like, wow, I wanted to write today, I wanted to meditate today, I wanted to reciprocate with someone that I love today, yet I couldn't because, I am blocked. I want to talk about that for a second, because that is an automatic block that's rather subconscious, and you may not be consciously trying to do that, but what happens when you even think I am blocked, it's actually a stillness. It's the universe saying, be still. Find the quiet answer. That's a quote from ACIM, the quiet answer, the holy instant, where you begin to give yourself permission to not know. That is my definition of acceptance. When you are in uncertainty, when you're trying to mesh between the third dimension and the fourth and the fifth, as you call it, paradigms that really no longer connect you anymore, whether they be religions, politics, rules that your boss may have at work, whatever it is that isn't serving you, you're not actually blocked. When you come to that place where you say, I am still, can you please consider taking that opportunity to go more deeply within and say, okay, I'm listening. I am listening from here, heart, not from here, not by saying, what do I want to do next? What should I do? Should I leave this job? Should I move to another state? Should I, anything. Could I have done this better? What wouldn't have happened? What would have happened if I did this instead of that? There's so many different ways that the ego likes to drive us into an endless circle of guilt, condemnation, and shame. And when does it end? Does it end by saying we're blocked? Or does it end by potentially acceptance of what is in that moment? Just say, oh, how is this a miracle? The commonplace miracle of that stillness when we say, all right, I am done living by my own creative expression in this moment. It feels bad. I am listening, and I accept what is. The reason why I share this with you, as opposed to saying, I accept what is not is apparent and before your eyes in every given moment, every given breath, every given judgment, in the third dimensional paradigms that you are trying to release. When so many of you come to me and say, I'm blocked, I'm purposeless, I don't know why I'm here. So to say, I accept, the universe is a law that provides a lot of laws that are reciprocal. So if the universe is a reciprocal place, then basically it's not going to hear the word no. It's not going to hear the word not. It's not going to hear the word should, coulda, woulda, I shall not, I cannot. It doesn't hear anything like that because reciprocity doesn't work within the not. It doesn't work within what isn't. It works within what is apparent before you. So if what is apparent before you is that feeling of blocked, there is a feeling that's called acceptance where you say, okay, I feel that. That is what is. I honor that, and I'm not trying to define it as illusion or reality. I am creatively flowing, accepting, forgiving, trusting, and then I'm moving into a state of allowance. I allow that to be what is. That is the next step. We've had trust, acceptance, now we flow into allowance. What does allowance mean to anyone?
It's okay.
Mm-hmm. You're okay. You're okay. Mm-hmm. And when you do this, this means that all creative emotions are God's expression. Going back to, if God wants to piss me off, by golly, I'm mad. If I want to be sad, I'm going to wallow in it for a bit. And those of you who are coming around saying, oh, please get better, I love you, I hug you, I bless you, I'm sad. There is nothing that irritates my personal ego more than when, and is, gosh, I forgive and I accept that as a human being. There is nothing that bothers me more when I am sad, when I am pissed, when I am frustrated than when one of my friends come up and says, oh, you know, if we do this, it's going to get better, and let me fix it, and let me heal it. And I'm going, actually, God just wants to be pissed right now. Can I get it? And so it is?
So it is.
I don't do the amen, sorry, Southern Baptist background. So I just kind of hug my friend and I say, thank you, I accept your unique way of holding space for me, but I'm really pissed right now and I need to go punch something. Did karate for several years for that reason. So, what is it that your inner child is trying to express that within these paradigms of the third dimensional collective you're trying to release? What is it that your inner child wants creative permission to feel? I'm not asking you to say, not something isn't. I'm asking you to just accept what is, because that's going to bring allowance. The next step is flow. What does flow mean to you?
Movement. No resistance.
No resistance after we just said the universe doesn't hear no. That's hilarious. I love you. What does resistance look like?
Allowing.
What does that look like to you when you're resistant? That's interesting that that comes up and there's a reason.
Not allowing. It's just that opposite. It's just the walls go up. It's just that.
That's
Fear, I think.
Fear.
It's fear.
Yeah, fear. Yeah, fear of what is, what isn't, what should be, what shouldn't, all of that again. So if you are flowing, what do you think that looks like? After all this work and you're finally flowing, you're finally moving, what does that look like in your lives? Surrender. Yeah, surrender. That's a good one. I like that. What does surrender mean to you?
Excuse me. Surrender is releasing all preconceptions. It's letting the ego go bye-bye. And surrendering is allowing, it's just no fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big thing. Some of you may be thinking right now, well, that sounds scary. So, what that has looked like in my life and in that of the students that I mentor, when people are in flow, they are not thinking about what comes next. They are in full acceptance, trust, and allowance of what is, to the extent that they could get fired that day, they could wreck their car and not have a vehicle that day, they could lose their relationships that day, because the creative process is not always fun, right? We are in a third-dimensional dualistic environment, and we are entering an age where we're in between dualism and non-dualism. There's something there that hasn't been expressed yet, that is the gap between all the egoic stories that we seem to collectively carry. So flow is that gap. It just is. It is the next step prior to grace. And grace is the combination of all of these steps. And when you are in grace, you are creatively expressing as one, as God within, and this promotes your authenticity and your vulnerability, which are foundational building blocks for integrity in both the giving and receiving components of reciprocity. So authenticity combined with vulnerability permits this trust, acceptance, allowance, flow that is going to promote your creative personal power, because vulnerability implies all of this. Your authenticity implies all of this. Why? Because in my vulnerability, my safety lies. I am safe. And if I am safe, nothing can be wrong. I'm not thinking about what is right. I'm not thinking about what is wrong. I'm not thinking about what is. I'm not thinking about what isn't. I'm not thinking. I am feeling. I am moving. I am flowing. For those of you who have worked with me, there's one of you in this room who has a long time, and you get to watch, for any of you who knows a channel, especially a Christ conscious channel, when we work with these beings, we could just be riding along in a car one day in the middle of nowhere, and you go, aha, oh my God, I can't breathe right now. Something has overcome me. What is that? Have you ever done that? That expression is another foundational building block of the universal law of reciprocity, when you can wonder. That is the miracle that is God-given. The if, the what if, the magic, all of the things that aren't really things. Because the best things in life aren't things. They are emotions. That's the power of your creativity. So the next time you fall into this step where you're not really feeling this creativity, you're saying I'm blocked, you're saying I'm not connected, I'm not really honoring my purpose, I would like for you to connect to that. So there are 2 questions involved in that. And I'm going to give you a brief little story about the last time this happened to me, and it was just yesterday. I was riding along, with Russ back there, we were going to go run an errand, and we had to go all the way around town because of the Ironman race. For those of you who are feeling that block and that frustration. But we really wanted to go out and buy a desk for his new office. So we had to go all the way to Washington, and we're like, how are we going to get there? Well, I guess we're going to go all the way down to the Arizona border, because that's the only way I can feel safe about trying to control my path, because that's what ego does. Right? So my ego's like, all right, we're going to do this. I really don't feel like doing this. But that voice of wonder said, get your ass in the car. So I followed the voice of wonder, because that is what is. And I know that there's creativity that comes from not knowing how this trip all the way around to the Arizona border could possibly be constructive and creative and anything other than terrible. So I'm sitting there,